Here's 20 locations that we may see in GTA 6. But before we get into today's video, I'm trying to get to 50,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so if you would just tap that subscribe button, it's massively appreciated. Love you all. So firstly, let's get started off with malls. So we know in GTA Vice City we had the North Point Mall, and I've done a full video about what this may look like in GTA 6. But overall, one of the biggest complaints about GTA 5 was that there was nowhere to really spend your money. So hopefully having malls such as the Vice Point Mall or the North Point Mall will allow us to have a place where we can spend our in-game currency. Next we have gyms. So in GTA San Andreas, the introduction of gyms allowed us to customize our character by working out, putting on weight, losing weight, and toning up our character to be the aesthetic that we would like. This is something that has been missed from the series for quite a while, and GTA 6 feels like the best place for Rockstar to bring this back, especially with the need for more advanced character customization. Next we have restaurants and bars. So of course in Red Dead Redemption 2 we had different places where we could get food and get drink, and hopefully Rockstar implements some of the things that they've learned from Red Dead Redemption 2 and put it into GTA 6. Having the ability in story mode but also in online to meet up with our friends and actually go for a meal in the game or do something that's more reminiscent of a role-playing scenario would definitely add an extra dynamic and level to the game that makes it feel way more immersive. Next we have the Kennedy Space Center. So this is something that I'm a bit on the fence about. I personally don't think that we should be going to space in GTA 6. However, there is no denying that the Kennedy Space Center plays an important part of Florida's history. So having some remnant to that or something pointing to the Space Center or the space program would be a really cool feature to have in the game and also an extra thing for us to explore. Next would be Disney World / Universal Studios. There's been a lot of theories floating around online about Rockstar calling Disney World Fairyland and having something pointing to that somewhere in the north of the map. However, it is worth saying that having children in the game can be a slightly tricky one with some of the other content. This is something I've covered in other videos, but having things like naughty content, violence, gore, etc. all together with children being included in that scenario can be a very techie one for Rockstar to get around. Alternatively, there could be a Disney World that's just featuring adults, but once again that'll pull away a little bit from the immersion, so it'd be very interesting to see if Rockstar do actually implement this into the game. Next we have the Freedom Factory or some sort of speedway or derby like the Miami Speedway. Homestead Miami Speedway is a motor racing track located in Homestead, Florida. The track has several different variants and configurations, and it's promoted several series of racing including NASCAR, the IndyCar Series, the IMSA Sports Car Championship Series, and the Championship Cup Series. In GTA Vice City we're able to race around and do a series of track events, so it'd be really cool to see Rockstar bring this back, as this would add just another thing that we can do with our time in not just story mode but also in online. Next we have Fort Jefferson. Now Fort Jefferson is a former US military coastal fortress in the Dry Tortugas National Park of Florida. It's the largest brick masonry structure in the Americas, covering 16 acres and made with over 16 million bricks. This is quite an important historical landmark in Florida, so to see Rockstar find some way to introduce this into the game would be really cool, and once again would add an extra area for us to explore. Then we have 7 Mile Bridge. So as we saw from the trailer, it's very evident that this is going to be featured in the game. Located at the very end of the city of Marathon is the 7 Mile Bridge. It's a famous bridge in the Florida Keys and connects the middle keys to the lower keys, and it was one of the largest bridges ever when it was originally built. The old bridge was originally constructed in early 1900 as part of Henry Flagler's Florida East Coast Railway's Key West extension. That is a mouthful. Also known as the Overseas Railroad. In the early 1980s, this old bridge was no longer used for vehicular traffic when the new bridge was constructed. Next we have Fishermans Village, which is a mall, resort and marina located on Charlotte Harbor in Punta Gorda, Florida. There's a variety of shops, waterfront restaurants, live music, etc. all in this area, and it's quite a popular tourist attraction. It also looks like somewhere around here would be the perfect place to put it. Next we have the Everglades. So as we saw in the trailer, the Everglades will be featured in the game, but just for those that may be interested, the Everglades National Park is a 1.5 million acre wetlands preserve on the southern tip of the US state of Florida. Often compared to a grassy, slow moving river, the Everglades is made up of coastal mangroves, sawgrass, marshes and pine flatwoods that are home to hundreds of animal species. Among those species are the endangered leatherback turtle, the Florida panther and the West Indian manatee. This seems like the perfect playground for Rockstar to take what they've learned from Red Dead Redemption 2 and implement it into GTA 6. Now before we get on to the next point, I want to say a brief thank you to today's video sponsor, Private Internet Access. Now internet privacy is very important. A lot of games out there use something called the P2P model, which is the peer-to-peer model, where effectively you're not playing on a server, you're connecting to someone else's console and their console's connecting to yours. And a prime example of this is GTA Online. Now the problem with this is it makes it very easy for people to access your IP address, so it's not very secure at all. But by using private internet access, you're adding a barrier between yourself and the other person's console. You can change your location to one of 50 US states or 91 countries. And this is especially important if you're in the US. You can change your location to a nearby state rather than having to ping your location to the other side of the world. So you can not only get really fast gameplay, but of course stay completely private in the process. Whenever I play in VR or even on my consoles online, I always use a VPN. So to save yourself 83% off and get yourself 4 months completely free, click the link down below. It works out about $2.03 a month. Next we have coral reefs such as the Christ of the Deep. On the 25th of August 1965, a 9-foot tall bronze statue of Christ was lowered into 25 feet of water off the coast of Key Largo, Florida. Known as the Christ of the Abyss, this submerged statue was actually the third of its kind from the original Italian mold. Many of these were placed throughout Europe and the US, and this is now a key dive location amongst many other locations that are very similar. With all the active marine life around Florida, having some ability to dive and have dive centers, coral reefs, and other marine based features feel like that they have to be in the game. Moving on to car dealerships. Now, car dealerships are something that we were first introduced to back in GTA Vice City. In particular, this one car dealership that we all broke into to try and steal the cars. Looking at the information we have so far from the leaks, it does look like there's going to be many different ways that we can enter and break into vehicles in GTA 6. So having car dealerships feels like a must. But also, Florida's just full of car dealerships. In fact, it has one of the highest concentrations of car dealerships in the US. Next, we have the Orlando Kart Center. This is something that myself and a few other creators have been talking about over the past couple of months. Having different sorts of races with different sorts of vehicles would definitely make things more interesting in GTA Online. Having a kart center where we could enter go-karting races would honestly be so fun. So I really do hope that the Orlando Kart Center is featured in GTA 6. Next we have Winwood, which we know is going to be featured in the game based on what we saw in the trailer. Winwood is known for its many colourful murals. It's one of the city's most happening districts, with loads of different famous street artists putting their art up on the walls there, and all of the surrounding buildings have been turned into craft breweries, art galleries, and all sorts of other, well, hipster buildings.
You are a hipster!
Next we have Old St Augustine Village. This is a busy tourist hub, and the historic district is home to Spanish colonial landmarks like the 1600s Castillo de San Marcos, overlooking Matanzas Bay, and the Gonzalez Alvarez house. This seems like the perfect location for Rockstar to use some of the assets that they had in Red Dead Redemption 2, but implement them into a more modern environment and game. Next would be the Key West Lighthouse. The current lighthouse opened in 1848 with a woman as its keeper, nearly unheard of during the 19th century. In the years following, the Key West Lighthouse underwent a number of upgrades, including the installation of a third order Fresnel lens, an extension to the tower which allowed light to be seen from a greater distance, and the addition of a keeper's quarters, and finally the electrification of the light. In 1969, the US Coast Guard decommissioned Key West Lighthouse since there was no longer a need for a full-time keeper due to technological advancements. Today, the Sentinel of the Sea stands as a museum dedicated to Key West's maritime heritage and the men and women who bravely kept the light burning through the threats of war and weather. Honestly, it feels like Rockstar have to have this in their game. Obviously, from the mapping project, we have some theories that this will be located somewhere down the bottom of the map around here somewhere, but we had a lighthouse in Vice City, so I'm pretty sure we'll have one in GTA 6. Next, we have the Naples Pier. The historic Naples Pier is located on the Gulf of Mexico at the west end of 12th Avenue South. The Naples Pier is a really popular location for sightseers. It feels like this historic location will be very easy for Rockstar to implement. As we saw in GTA 5, there was a load of random piers dropped throughout the map around the coastline, so hopefully there is something in GTA 6 that resembles this. Next we have Solomon's Castle. In the early 1970s, artist Howard Solomon bought dozens of acres of land and decided to build his home to look like a castle using aluminium as its siding. Apparently the goal was to never be a tourist attraction, but over time, as the house got handed down to his daughter, it became a tourist attraction with many different artworks inside made from recycled materials. The whole concept of an aluminium castle just seems like something that Rockstar would play with in the game and maybe have some weird or interesting things happening at that particular location. This seems like the perfect tool for Rockstar just to dump in the game. The the same way that we have the Strangers and Freaks missions. I really hope this is in the game. Next we have zoos. So Florida is known for having an absolutely obscene amount of zoos. It's crazy. Both normal zoos and marine life zoos. So it'd be really cool to see if Rockstar do implement any zoos at all into the game. This of course will allow them to expand off the back of some of the stuff that they did in Red Dead Redemption 2 and to feature it in GTA 6, but also it'll allow them to introduce some more interesting and fringe animals into GTA 6. Next we have the Orlando Eye at Icon Park. The Orlando Eye by Merlin Entertainments is a 400-foot tall Ferris wheel at the Icon Park in Orlando. It opened back in 2015, only a couple of years before GTA 6 entered active development. As it predates the development of GTA 6, I'm really hoping that this does feature in the game. I think it'd be really cool just to sit there taking some views, and it's a really cool place to snipe people from. Thank you all so much for watching today's video, and of course 3 things I need to say at the end of each video. Thank you to today's video sponsor, a massive thank you to all my members up in the top right hand side of the screen, and if you did enjoy today's video, please remember to like and subscribe. I'm trying to get to 50k subs by the end of the year. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Spin the cylinder.